What's going on, YouTube? Time for another recap, and we're going to do a little update. So, as my chat knows, we started a small account challenge because the real challenge is funded accounts paying you out and, having great platforms to use. So, we're going to do an all cash account here. So, tag along, and we're going to start a series right here of trading a tiny account, going back to the roots of trading, right? Making it nice and difficult for us to trade with an actual small cash account, not a crappy prop account that might have platform issues or who knows, payout issues or whatever else that we've ever seen, across the board here in the near term. So just a small update. We started this account with $3,500. This is day 3. We're up to 49,4487. So luckily no dead reds yet. So 634.26 today. We traded the MES for 110, the MNQ for 140. You guys probably can't even see this. 462 on the ES. Probably won't be trading NQ for a long time because it is a small account. That can damage you quite a bit. So I'll be going pretty small with the rest of the stuff here on the small account. So I'm going to make this a series. I got some live trades to post here. So like, subscribe, and stay tuned for the playlist. That's going to be dedicated completely to this tiny account that we started with $3,500 3 days ago. Of course, not every day is going to be green and easy with, $500, $600, $300 days. Do not come easy like that. We do expect some red days, but also learning curves and perspective on how we trade a small cash account. And we're going to prove yet again, I've done this multiple times, where you don't need a shit ton of money to make a little bit of money, right? It's all about the risk management. It's all about utilizing. So the recap for the day, as we'll get into some small account stuff on some different videos. Off to the big recap today. So first things first, I want to cover on the QQQ. We had a very unique daily pattern setup here, okay? So on the daily pattern, I have an engulfing candle and then a gap. Now, anybody that knows this channel, we have a specific setup for these, and this is a very rare occurrence in the market, okay? So we have a engulfing here because we have a entry candle here. So this engulfing candle engulfed all of price action from yesterday, and it didn't do anything, right? And then we opened up right at yesterday's highs and had a massive push, resulting in a gap, right? So from yesterday's candle highs, obviously we opened above that, creating a gap between yesterday's candle and the opening of today. Now, we ran away with that gap to new all-time highs, 533.17, but let me explain some interesting things here about this setup. When there is a giant engulfing candle, right, mother candle, and then this guy right here, if we get a gap, it doesn't matter if it's over or under this daily specific candle because it is engulfed with our big mother candle here, high percentile chance to retrace to the gap fill, okay? So let's get into the intraday chart here. This is a very unique daily setup that I do enjoy a lot. So let's get into it. In the Discord, I told all my premium members, we were talking around 5 a.m. or so back here, and I said, please don't short anything on trend. This is just going to scam push higher. There's no such thing as resistance. We're just going to get smashed up here. And we were talking, just nasty amounts of above VWAP squeezes. And I told them it was going to run up for, get this bar out of the way here. I was almost going to run up all pre-market here. As you can see down here, about 5 a.m. we were talking. I said, please don't short anything. This is going to go straight up. We're on trend. We're above the volume weighted average price. We're cooking. And most likely we will squeeze all-time high because we are now over highs. So this orange dash line is yesterday's highs. Price action was above yesterday's highs in pre-market. As you see, it's starting to scale up, up, and up. And I told my Discord, do not short. This thing is just going to go straight up and play accordingly. Now, what I like to do in scenarios like this for my studies, I generally just turn off everything except for the 100 EMA and VWAP. I don't like trading at all-time highs with a bunch of different indicators. Generally speaking, it's not one of those things that you need up at all-time highs. You're FOMOing into all-time high. You're gapping into a price action we've never seen before. We don't have collectively a big group of historic support and resistance, gaps, anything that we can use that's viable from the daily and weekly chart. We just don't have anything. So to get into that range, I'll show you how I handle these types of days. So a lot of times I go down to the minute chart. I like to see if there's gaps on the slow grind up and what the open looked like for us. So I was short biased today down to yesterday's highs because of the daily setup that we had just discussed. Now, the push out of the gate, we over-undered this level right here. And I said over-under 530.62 for the Qs. If it's over that, it's going to squeeze out for a bit. And we're going to cause a rapid movement to the upside. And then later on, we'll most likely trail back down, utilize that VWAP. Now, you can see here, the VWAP +2. So your center VWAP is here. This is the +2 deviation. It broke out and actually ran and squeezed for a little bit, which was predominantly, that's fine. That's not a big deal. We came to a halt after we got this little breakdown here. And we were short actually right here and right here. So we're looking for the back test and trend. Okay. So on their indicators on the 1 minute chart, because we're at all-time highs, we got to slow stuff down a little bit. We are having a RSI at a peak overbought right here, coming out of that +2 VWAP. And then once it lost to the 10 SMA and got stuck under the 10 SMA, we were all short bias down to the VWAP and then to the no tag 5 minute 100 EMA. And we'll get into this in a second, but just a note that opening push never tagged the 100 EMA, this first candle at 8:30 a.m. Central for market open. Notice it was shied, okay? There is no tag of our green little level here. So when that ran away, we had a sneaking suspicion in our chat that we were going to come back down to the 100 EMA and then gap fill at yesterday's highs as we discussed. Now back to the minute chart here. The 5 minute looked really good here too, but the minute is where I was most of the day here, allowing us to utilize that VWAP range. Now, I said wait for the confirmation pull. You don't just short highs, right? Especially at an all-time high FOMO mover. But what's the psychology of today? That's one of the most important things. One, it's Friday. Two, we don't have a ton of data. And pushing into all-time highs on a Friday, a lot of people tend not to hold over the weekend. It's not much of a determining factor, except for why do I want to hold all-time high FOMO pushing with no data on top momentum that could potentially come down with war headlines, news, Trump news, a tweet, who knows, over the weekend that could cause a massive push down. Now, again, that very unique daily setup that we talked about in the start of the video was the cause for our downside, but the confirmation, which you're going to find right here after the all-time high was hit, gets stuck under the 10 SMA, hits the VWAP, and then pops. I said short the pop, right? And we're going to run it back down. So we shorted the pop, we ran it back down, ran a lot of micros on the small account all the way down, and had some gap targets. Now, ES was one of the biggest plays here, and how we formed this, we assumed we're coming back down to the golden pocket at the bare minimum on NQ. Okay, so that was the whole trade plan for NQ and QQQ because we were at all-time highs. We had the gap up. That was the strategic short play for that ticker. Okay, let's move over to the SPY, and I'm going to show you a lot of the stuff that we made that little 462.50 on ES. Now, there's a couple keys here to take away. Okay. One is that we were not pushing into all-time highs. We were completely divergent from the QQQ. The SPY, if we back it out here a little bit in the last couple of days, we do have all-time highs, sure, but we're coming off a lower high of that, okay? And SPY is the real market. So if we look at, we'll just look at the daily quick. If we look at the daily chart here, we do have a all-time high and a lower high setup, right? So this is the first tag into that 10 SMA, usually bounces, created a lower high on this green candle from the all-time high, and so far we've been coming down. So generally speaking, if we get trapped in the range candles, right, if we open up inside those engulfing candles, we tend not to break out over the highs and just start running again. We had divergence in the market. For SPY. Now I'll show you the keys here in a second on why we went so short on ES, and we're doing good on that. So SPY opened up and it actually shied, which is kind of rare here. We talk about shying a lot of the time on this channel. That's when the price action goes very close to a price level or moving average or target you have, and then it shies away and pulls from that target, doesn't actually hit the target. So on a pre-market high is this light level right here in the blue. That's obviously yesterday's highs in the orange dash line here, 607.23. Fib for the prior day. These were shied, okay? It ran into our VWAP, as we discussed already. We're only using the VWAP and the +2, -2, okay? So we opened up, grabbed VWAP as support in the 10, pushed, and did not hit that pre-market high, and then started dwindling down. So we seen extreme weakness, saying that we didn't even want to run into resistance. The market wanted to sell before it could even tag a viable resistance. Now, sure, we did get the +2 VWAP, and that's what I said, just use your VWAPs. But we didn't hit pre-market high, we shied it. So that continuation down, running away from that top was very apparent after it got stuck under VWAP. That's one of the biggest catalysts here. So we're over VWAP, pushed into the +2, almost hit pre-market resistance, got stuck under the 10 SMA, VWAP, and 100 EMA for this sell, and that's why we were so bearish on the SPY. Now, notably speaking, let's talk oscillation indicators at the open. We were stuck in the bottom channel of the RSI. We had no buy wave on the MACD. It crossed, it went straight down. So the MACD was awesome to the downside. RSI was stuck in the bottom channel, and we had the hard sell, and we had really, I don't like using the word guaranteed, but we had a guaranteed first target here, and I'll show you why. With a fresh chart here. So we go for gaps, and especially multi-gaps on the minute chart. I'll give this system out for free because it's been compromised a lot of times. I can give you these gaps, but you guys won't know exactly what to do with them unless you're in our group here for targets. So we have a custom little code here, and we have gaps on the minute chart. So in between the minute, it creates a gap. And as I zoom in right here, you guys are going to see right here, the indicator picked up a 1 minute gap. So from 214 to 215, there is a gap in price action where nothing touches each other right at 60.71. I have a live trade video that I'll be releasing this weekend after this that shows me trading and explaining this entire trade to you guys here. So that's gap number 1 that we just talked about, gap number 2, gap number 3. There were 3 gaps on ES and 2 gaps on NQ, all showing on the minute chart. And these are way down in the pull range where we started gapping and running above VWAP, pressing up. And that's where I said, don't short, wait till the open to short. And then once we had the breakaway to the downside, we had our targets at the 1 minute gaps. So first lot was right here. Second lot was right here. And these were our downside targets for the ES because they had 1 minute gaps to potentially fill. Now, same day gaps, it's kind of tricky. I'll give you guys a little bit of a hint. If there's multiple of them, there's a high probable chance that price action will come and fill them. If they are on both tickers, NQ and ES in the futures, both showing 1 minute gaps underneath, having multiple gaps, you have pretty much a guaranteed trade that you will come down. You just have to find the confirmation. Now, that's what we teach here in our group on how to utilize these gap strategy downs on intraday scalping. Now, we've done this for a long time on the minute chart, so let's talk about ES just a little bit. So our white levels here, those are the 2 gaps that were open. So we've seen that early morning push. We never made it to high a day, started on the way back down, and I told everybody to just use VWAP and the 100 EMA. That is it. So once again, we see here that the 100 EMA broke above, came down, could not hold as support and go, got ducked under the 10 SMA, missed the highs, got stuck under VWAP and the 100 EMA right here, and down she went. So we shorted to 671. And then I said, as we come into this, we're going to most likely continue lows because NQ has lower gaps and we have to continue to the downside on these. And we're probably going to get past yesterday's lows. So both gaps were filled target, and then she lost a good amount, popped up 100 EMA, back to the very slow death of downtrend. Now, that's perfectly fine. That's all said and done. That's exactly what we, that's exactly what we traded here off the lower high that we discussed on the daily. If you had your daily fibs here, I'll show you how we play these because we do have engulfing range. So the second that the golden pocket was lost on this engulfing candle, as we were discussing right here, we'll fib out that high low. Golden pocket is the 50 fib with 38.20 to 61.8. The gold level right there is the 50. Once we are under that, that is where risk off is, and that is where our short had manifested, okay? So as you can see, we'll pull it into the intraday chart now so you can, TOS and their lag loads were a little faster than the old dinosaur TOS can process sometimes. There we go. So as we pull it in the intraday, you see the 50 fib, that's the golden pocket that we're talking about. Intraday, ding, right to the penny, pops up, and ding, fails. So now we are under 60.80. I actually did this live. I said we need a push long here. I want you guys to short into 60.80s. That's what I said. So I said short into this right here. Then we lost 60.80 and plummeted to gap target 1, gap target 2. And on the big account, we did a super good like 4,600. I don't know if I posted that today, but big account we did 4,600 because from my short call down, we had 17.5 points to just the gaps on ES. And then I said watch for a panic to yesterday's lows. And that was yet another under the algo, under the gap, 20. So 37 points total. I think we called over 140 on NQ as well. Intraday on the scalps. But man, fantastic day. Fantastic day. So that is how we trade. And those are all of the markers that we had used. Stay tuned. I'll post a live video here soon for the weekend. I got to edit and chop it up here and get it onto the YouTubes. And I'll show you my live trades here on the small account, showing you the MNQ to the downside, utilizing the gaps on MNQ and explaining this whole trade plan we just went over before it happens, so you guys can get a little bit cleaner of a view. If that sounds good to you, we'll see you on the next video. If you want to trade with us live, we have a live stream. It's in our Discord as well, and we're alive and awake 4 or 5 in the morning, talking Discord all morning. We hop on live 8 a.m. Central. We trade these markets live. We narrate them live. We show the live trades on especially the small account, which is going to be a big focus for us. Trading the MNQs, ES, and MES, showing you guys again that you just don't need a ton of money to make at least a little bit of money in the market, okay? If that sounds good to you, we'll see you in chat. Links in the description. If not, we'll see you on the next video. Take care.